Nigerian Army inaugurates livestock market in Abuja.
To complement federal government's efforts at providing qualitative welfare services for Nigerian Army personnel.
$1,500 Nigerians to benefit from federal government social intervention program in Taraba State.
National Hajj Commission promises early preparations for 2019 Hajj.
Even they are planning this year, they want to do screening and immigrations in the country, of which Nigeria want to key in.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on Nigeria's agricultural outlook for 2019.
Now, after many years of futile policies and lip service to reviving agriculture in the country, the sector is now taking its pride of place in the economy thanks to the green alternative policy of the present administration.
And you can see that again, Jumai. The rice revolution that is ongoing in the country at the moment, which has stepped up local production and reduced importation of rice by about 90%, is a testimonial to the fact that the agricultural sector is bouncing back to reckoning.
Of course, Kurian, Nigeria's quest for self-sufficiency in rice production has earned states like Kebbi, Kaduna, Kano, Jigawa, and Ebonyi the enviable status of rice-producing states. Well,
and that's right, Jumaida. Perhaps another masterstroke in the sector is the federal government's Anchor Borrowers program, which has given farmers in the country comparative advantage in the production of not only rice, but sugar, milk, sorghum, tomato, to mention a few.
Certainly, Kieran, and official information also shows that importation of these agricultural products you just mentioned has dropped by about 60% with the rise in local production.
And, Juma, you can be sure that with the decline in food importation, a good amount of foreign exchange will be saved for other sectors or rechanneled to grow the agricultural sector.
That's correct, Korean. And don't forget that with the booming yam exports business, more Nigerians are beginning to embrace various aspects of agribusiness.
And the rising fortunes in agriculture is not only a plus for food security, but the economic diversification drive of the present administration.
But then, Kieran, you agree with me that a lot still needs to be done, especially in stepping up wheat production, for instance, maximizing the livestock value chain and even exploring the potentials of greenhouse technology towards increasing the nation's fortunes in agriculture.
That's well said, and that's why the program today will interrogate the outlook for the agricultural sector this new year, 2019. Will Nigeria consolidate on the gains recorded in the sector in 2018? And what areas should the country do better in the sector? These are some of the questions our guests will answer as we explore the agricultural outlook for 2019. I am Kurian Umay, gladly welcoming you to Good Morning Nigeria, the third edition for the year 2019, coming to you live, as always, from the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority.
And I'm Juma Yusuf, joining my colleague Kieran to welcome you as usual. We shall present our companion segments, which include newspaper review, business, sports, foreign and entertainment news. But first, let's take the morning news highlights with Musba'u Down Wahab. Good morning, Musba'u. Any hangover from the festivities?
No, not at all. No hangover. We're always ready to go, and that's the spirit. Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to the news segments of the program. We'll start off with security matters as the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has destroyed a building purportedly being used as meeting venue by Islamic State of West Africa province fighters near Baga in northern Borno State. The attack, according to the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, was conducted after a series of intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions confirmed that the building was being used as an assembly point by the terrorists. Consequently, the Air Task Force dispatched a Nigerian Air Force Alpha Jet aircraft to attack the building. A direct hit was recorded on the target, leading to significant damage to the structure and neutralization of the occupant. Meanwhile, the Minister of Defense, Masoud Ali, is in the Theater Command Operation Lafia Dole on President Muhammadu Buhari's directive.
I'm here on the instruction of Mr. President to come and see the happenings, to know what is expected, what the President should do to make sure things work.
Of course, he has been briefed, and he gave assurances, and he added, apart from assurances, he also commended the troops for the job they have been doing in securing the country, the fight against terrorism and insurgency.
And away from the northeast, the Nigerian Army has inaugurated an international livestock market in Anagada area of Abuja. Army Chief of Logistics, Major General Enobong Udo, says the livestock market is part of effort towards enhancing civil-military cooperation and also to provide gainful employment for dependents of army personnel.
Nigerian Army resources to complement federal government's efforts at providing qualitative welfare services for Nigerian Army personnel.
In addition to enhancing the economic well-being of dependents of Nigerian Army personnel, this market was also initiated to foster a good relationship between the Nigerian Army and the civil populace residing in Anagada and Everons, as well as Abuja as a whole.
Away from the military, the completion of the Barrow River port in Niger State by the present administration has been described as commendable and a right step in the right direction. This was at a rally organized by the Agai Consultative Forum in collaboration with the Agai Emirate Council to appreciate President Muhammadu Buhari for the gesture.
I mean, anybody in Agai here cannot tell you there's no interest in Buhari for what he has done to us.
The port is ready to be commissioned, but there must be a road network that will make it work.
About 1,500 employed youth and women in Taraba State are to benefit in the first phase of a youth employment and social support operation, a social intervention scheme of the federal government. The beneficiaries got training in welding, metal, fabrication and sanitary work.
1,500 beneficiaries are recorded. We are hoping that by next phase we have up to 8,000 beneficiaries.
The federal government of Nigeria, in collaboration with World Bank and State, thereby came up with this project by providing a temporary labor-intensive job known as public work fair to the youth, which will earn them stipend of 7,500 monthly.
Of course, you know, festive seasons most often are characterized with show of kindness and care for the challenged ones. The coming of the new year 2019 is no different, as smiles were put on faces of some widows of Nigeria's fallen heroes by a non-government organization.
Men here to actually get this chance on behalf of their mom, who is a widow of one of our fallen heroes. So I just wanted to make that clear. And also, I forgot to mention, this wrapper I'm actually tying around my waist is part of the gift item, and we also have a bag of rice and mosquito nets.
A bit of politics. Ogun State Governor Ibikunle Amosun has distributed 42 buses to local government areas and senatorial districts of the state to mobilize the electorate for the re-election of President Muhammadu Buhari.
Truly, when you look at what Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari has done, and what he's still doing and what he's still going to do for us, you will know that even on his performance alone, it's only, yes, we must not take our people for granted, we must still run around and campaign. If not for that, I don't even think President Muhammadu Buhari ordinarily need to be going around again.
The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, says despite the improvements it's recorded in 2018 Hajj exercise, arrangement is ongoing to make this year's even much better. The Commission says it is pursuing this with early preparation, with various activities currently ongoing in both Nigeria and Saudi Arabia.
Planning this year, they want to do screening and immigrations in the country, of which Nigeria want to key in. As soon as you get here, you just go in. You don't even stop at the immigration. You just go and enter your bus and go to your accommodation.
Join us for more news subsequently in the course of the day. That's the news for now. We'll join Kirian and Jumai after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Brought us as usual. As usual. You have no problem. You are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah?
Welcome. You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice.
Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about.
Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food.
I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The Candidates. A presidential town hall co-production between Daria Media and NTA, supported by the MacArthur Foundation. 4 presidential town halls, 4 political parties and their presidential and vice presidential candidates. 4 Wednesdays in January 2019. 9th, 16th, 23rd and 30th January, from 7 to 9 p.m. Town Hall venue, Sheraton Hotel, Abuja. Moderator, Kadria Ahmed. The candidates will be broadcast live on NTA and other partner TV and radio stations, as well as streamed online on NTA and DTV.media. If you are over 18 and want to be part of the audience, apply online at daria.media or use the hashtag NGTheCandidates, or participate online using the hashtag NGTheCandidates.
It is that time of the year when we appreciate all those that mean so much to us. All sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, business, and above all, you, our esteemed viewers. Together we made 2018 great. Together we shall make 2019 even greater. And that is why we say thank you. Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
Thank you for staying with us up to this moment on Good Morning Nigeria. Now we go to business. Manufacturing sector records high on the value-added tax generated for Q3 2018. For more on this and other business stories, Chimobi Waternaji is our guide on business news.
As part of measures to ensure improved performance of the 2018 budget and further boost key indicators to strengthen the performance of subsequent budgets, the Federal Ministry of Finance have reiterated its resolve to deploy new initiatives in increasing revenue generation for the country, as this will have a positive impact on the budget performance.
This performance is unsatisfactory to our administration when compared to what we had set for ourselves as targets in the 2018 budget. So to date, the overall revenue performance compared to the 2018 budget targets is 53%, as at the third quarter of 2018. In view of this level of performance, the Ministry of Finance is prioritizing revenue generation.
Meanwhile, the manufacturing sector had the highest contribution to the value-added tax generated in the third quarter of 2018, and this is according to data obtained from the National Bureau of Statistics, which showed that VAT generated in Q3 rose to 273.5 billion naira. Sectoral distribution of value-added tax data for Q2 and 3 2018 reflected that the sum of 273.5 billion naira was generated as VAT in Q3 2018, as against 266.73 billion naira generated in Q2 2018 and 269.79 billion naira in Q1 2018, representing 2.54% increase quarter-on-quarter and 9.16% increase year-on-year. The report revealed that other manufacturing generated the highest amount of VAT, totaling 31.48 billion naira, closely followed by professional services. Out of the total amount generated in Q3 2018, 128.62 billion naira was generated as non-import VAT locally, while 58.84 billion naira was generated as non-import VAT for foreign. Here is a graphic representation of closing figures on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, I'm Chimobi Waternaji.
Thank you, Chimobi, for the business package. Newspaper review is next on Good Morning Nigeria.
And Bayo Toyebi, our newspaper reviewer, is here this morning for another round of analysis on Good Morning Nigeria. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
You, good morning. Good morning, Jumbe. Good morning, Nigeria.
Well, we have 3 newspapers, of course, plus the newspaper editorial for today. So let's begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper, below the nameplate, to have some headlines there. Begin with Morik rejects Kuka's plan to train 10 million Almajiris. That's on page 3. Now, the lead headline on Daily Trust this morning is Katsina under siege, says Masari, that's the governor of Katsina State. Now, Boko Haram, Buhari sends defense minister to Borno, is on page 6. And just at the bottom of the Daily Trust newspaper, we have 3 stories there. First is accept defeat, endorse me, Buhari tells Atiku, is on page 14. Now, Nigeria's oil output to rise as Total's Egina field begins production is on page 17. And INEC issues notice on Presidential National Assembly 2019 elections. You can get full details of that story on page 12 of Daily Trust. Jemai.
Next is the Punch newspaper. Above the masthead, we have IMF warns Nigerians, others as global debt hits 184 trillion. And then we have stock market investors lose 134.4 billion on 2019 first trading day. That's on page 27. Closure won't affect visa applicants, says U.S. Embassy. That's on page 30. And Katsina under kidnappers, robbers siege, Masari, that's on page 12. Below the masthead, we have PDP to Buhari. For peaceful polls, let IG retire January 15th. President has right to extend IG's tenure on the rider, says Kiamo. And then we have a picture story, a very sad one, scene of fire incident at Wadata Market in Makurdi on Wednesday. Fire raises Benue Market. Autumn donates 30 million to victims. That's on page 7. And then we have, below we have Plateau needs 12,000 teachers for 309 schools. That's the commission. And then we have father kills 2 sons with poison over witchcraft. Pension, families of 50,811 deceased workers get 156 billion naira claims. That's on page 30.
All right, let's go to the daily leadership, actually. And below the nameplate, we have a Total begins production of a Guinea oil field, targets 200,000 barrels per day. And the lead story here says 2019 campaigns, that's the kicker. APC, PDP broke, says Obey, that's the Minister of Agriculture, with 2 riders. There is a shift from money politics. Parties are daggers drawn over alleged diversion of military funds. And below that, we have NAF bombs terrorists meeting venue. That's the Nigerian Air Force bombs terrorists meeting venue. With the rider, defense minister relocates to Borno State. And on the foot of the leadership newspaper, U.S. Embassy recounts, says office is not shut down. Page 2 has details of that story. The federal government moves to avert labor strike on page 7. Offer robbery. Saraki lied about 10 million naira donation, says Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information. Now, ASU denies knowledge of 15.89 billion naira payment. The story is on page 6. Let's go to Bio for all the stories that we have read out.
Well, sad story coming from Makurdi. Wadata Market is on fire, and it started about 2 a.m. And in spite of the problems and the efforts of the fire brigade, they were only able to put it out after a lot of destruction. The governor has visited, and the discovery is that a lot of, Benue is the food basket of the nation. A lot of grains suffered a lot of destruction there. And the governor has given his support, about 30 million there. But the concern is during the dry season like this, there's always an annual tradition of fire at big markets. Kano, Lagos, Aba. So all marketers need to be very vigilant about this kind of fire. The other story that is also interesting is that the Minister of Agriculture, Chief Audu Ogbe, says that campaign has to be discreet and noiseless because there's no money available now for politics. And specifically, he said that this is the change that the administration is desiring. Change in the sense that they've locked up public funds with the TSA. Therefore, money is not available for anybody to use for campaign purposes. And the minister draw attention to the rural area where he says that is where the change is taking effect. He says he went to his old school, government secondary school, Adiele, and the principal said those parents who are able to pay school fees now on resumption day are farmers. Our big brothers who depend on government and all this and are still struggling to look for money to pay the school fees. So he says that if we can persist with this change, like India did, then gradually, after this initial struggling, because we have a big internal market, the economy will pick up. The other also concern is with the challenges with the insurgency. The Minister of Defense has gone to Maiduguri. He has held meeting with the Chief of Staff and the commanders of the operation. In fact, he's on his way to Chad Republic to meet with his counterpart. This is because there have been a resurgent attacks in Baga and Monguno, and the army says they have repelled that. In fact, the Nigerian Air Force is on record to have said that they have neutralized some locations of the insurgents at Baga town. Unfortunately, however, one helicopter aircraft has crashed. The Air Force is to provide some information about that earlier on. What is there again? There is some good news about sufferers of diabetes. Some researchers have found a drug which has the ability to improve insulin production in the body 10 times. They have a second drug that will increase it to 40 times. But they have a challenge. They are still to discover the medicinal way of delivering that to the human pancreas. And so if they succeed in that, then there will be a breakthrough to the cure of diabetes.
Thank you so much, Bayo. We now go to the editorial of the Daily Independent, tagged Boko Haram, time to re-strategize. The enduring insecurity across the nation, but most particularly the Boko Haram menace, demands a strategic shift in the rule of engagement. The overrun of the Mitele military camp in Borno State, where the army lost several soldiers to Boko Haram terrorists, has remained a major scar on the military and brought a feeling of trauma and apprehension to the people. Bayo.
Yes, this is the danger there in information. The insurgents depend, like Margaret Thatcher once said, renegades depend on the media as a tonic to survive. When we had the incident at Mitele, the media went to town, some saying 110 soldiers were killed. And that went a long way to demoralize our soldiers. At the end of the day, there were 39 soldiers that were killed, unfortunately. And these are Nigerians who have laid down their life in defense of our nation. We need to be very, very careful. And the editorial is saying that there is need for a re-strategization to up the act of the war, because gradually the insurgents are regrouping again within the borderline. And that is why the Minister of Defense just visited Maiduguri. Last week, the Chief of Defense Staff held a meeting with the service chiefs in Maiduguri. Again, it's part of the strategization. But there's a challenge with the military. They are currently having operations around 32 states of the 36 states of the Federation. Look at the latest report in Katsina. What is happening is that because there's pressure on bandits in Zamfara, they are now migrating towards Katsina. So increasing the scope of the challenge. So all we need to do is give the support to our military so that we can fight these criminals who are living around. So, raising information that tend to demoralize the initiatives of our soldiers is not helping us. We must recognize that the nation is at war.
Yes, Bayo, thank you very much indeed. It was indeed, sad, the way the number of soldiers killed was taking up, even at the National Assembly, where they were, saying that this is a number that was not confirmed by the military. Yes. It's under normal circumstances. The military has to confirm first before we can now say this is the real figure. On that note, Bayo, we'd like to thank you for your analysis this morning. And we believe you're going to be back again with us tomorrow for more analysis on Good Morning Nigeria. All right, now we will take a break, and when we return, we will really move in to take on the topical issue for today, which is on agriculture.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Thanks for staying with Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. The nation's agricultural outlook for 2019 is our focus for discussion this morning. And to set the tone for the conversation, let's take this background report put together by our correspondent, Aisha Uba Ali.
Agriculture has been the mainstay of Nigeria's economy, providing the largest portion of foreign exchange into the country. Moreover, according to official statistics, it contributed about 63% to the nation's gross domestic product in 2017, and this income has been derived mainly from the export of major cash crops like rubber, cocoa, palm oil, cashew nut, groundnut, and cotton, among others. Animal husbandry observers say this subsector of agriculture can be made viable and can generate more income if properly harnessed. Various administrations have called for diversification. This basically means less attention on oil and more attention on agriculture and its subsectors, which will in turn allow self-sufficiency in terms of food production and increase employment. The general perception is that Nigeria's agricultural sector can boom again if only the challenges of herdsmen attack, high borrowing interest rate, poor rural road network, importation of foreign food, lack of agricultural research, poor farm implements, poor storage and processing facilities, and others can be tackled. However, this administration to some extent has recorded achievements, and this, the president in 2018 acknowledged, saying the importation of food and dairy products, which was high, needed to be cut down to allow development of local potential. He also lauded the Anchor Borrowers Project, which he believes can help millions of unemployed Nigerian youth become self-reliant. Under this same administration, for the first time in 2017, the nation witnessed consumption figures for fertilizer at the highest, which was also maintained in 2018. With the demand for Nigeria's agricultural produce by foreign countries and effort of the government to diversify the economy, one can project that the future of the country can rely in agriculture and not oil and gas. For Nigeria to meet its agricultural goal, it is imperative to formulate policies that will assist in growing the sector, especially for a better and improved mechanized farming. In the outgoing year, support from development partners in agricultural-related and friendly programs also yielded results. What is the projection for 2019? What will be done differently? Answers to these and more will come shortly on the program.
And joining us this morning to discuss the agricultural outlook for 2019 is the Honorable Minister for Agriculture and Rural Development, Chief Audu Owe. Honorable Minister, it's our pleasure to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Nigeria. We're indeed glad to have you. Thank you. And Honorable Minister, let's begin this way. Now, before we look into the projections of 2019 with respect to agriculture, let's go backwards, and of course find out how you rate interventions in the agricultural sector for 2018 and how such interventions impacted on agriculture in Nigeria.
First, thank you for inviting me to be here. 2018 generally gave us an opportunity to stabilize the programs we put in place from 2015 to 2017. We still relied very much on cheaper credit from the central bank. We then benefited immensely from the supply of fertilizer blended here, especially the NPK. The number of blending plants in Nigeria rose from 12 to 27. We now have more fertilizer than we consume. We have a surplus of nearly 400,000 tons in the warehouses. The price of fertilizer has dropped to averagely 6,600 naira per bag, down from 10,000 the previous year, and the shortages have totally been eliminated. We have even now banned the importation of NPK 15, which is actually not suitable for any crop or any soil. We are intensifying soil testing, seed improvement, seed supplies, and we actually are the major suppliers of seed to West Africa. So those advantages are encouraging us to look into 2019. And in 2019, we are still looking at strengthening the Bank of Agriculture, privatizing the bank and commercializing it partially, with the ultimate aim of bringing interest rates in agriculture to 5%. We're looking at raising 250 billion. And we have started advertising, it will soon appear on NTA, asking Nigerians to buy shares in the Bank of Agriculture, to do exactly what they've done in China, which has made the Bank of Agriculture in China the largest bank on earth, with 800 million clients. We are targeting a capital base of 250 billion. Then we can bring down interest rates to 5%, at which point we can tell the world that Nigeria is prepared to become a major agricultural powerhouse. One of the obstacles in agricultural, in the way of agricultural growth over the years has been the issue of high credit or high interest rates, which is why the Anchor Borrowers Program came in very handy, and which is why today so many things are happening in agriculture which didn't happen in the past.
Well, moving on, Minister, you talked about intervention, the Anchor Borrower Scheme to the Central Bank of Nigeria. And how accessible has it been to farmers in the rural areas?
It's reached 32 states now. And the program has aggressively reached out to farmers and not waited for farmers to come seeking loans, because ordinarily, very few farmers can talk to a bank manager before now. Very few farmers can walk into a bank and hope to see a bank manager or a credit officer asking for 250,000. The banks are too busy dealing with bigger figures. Today, the Anchor Borrowers Program has driven the program right to the farmers' doorsteps. We haven't covered every farmer, but by the time the Bank of Agriculture takes over, we'll have a branch virtually in every local government. And that's when credit will be available to farmers at such a rate that there'll be no excuse, really, not to participate in agriculture if you want to do so. So far, we've done pretty well, and we appreciate the efforts of the central bank. People have criticized the CBN and said that this is not their prime responsibility. But we also realize that in 32 years, one of the problems of the Nigerian economy has been this outrageous deregulation of interest rates. How on God's green earth can an economy grow on the back of interest rates of 25 to 30%? And those who forced it on us through the structural adjustment program are the ones calling us the poverty capital of the world. And our people sing that song with glee. There is no other excuse than this thing imposed on Africa as far back as 1986. And we are not the only ones complaining. A few of us who saw this early said it was a threat to our growth. Jeffrey Sachs, the economic advisor to Kofi Annan, and Paul Krugman, the Nobel Prize laureate in the US, both condemned SAP as the worst assault on Africa since the slave trade. It killed growth in Africa, institutionalized poverty, turned us into a nation of importers, right? A nation of beggars, a nation that just couldn't grow its economy because they know precisely what they did to us. And I think Mr. Ziegler one time managing director of the IMF, wrote a book openly, literally confessing that it was a tragedy. And Africa hasn't recovered from it. So when you hear people telling you that when they come, they'll turn the economy around, create jobs, bring prosperity without work, how? And prosperity without production is a fallacy. Okay, it's nice for campaign slogans. Nobody can do it overnight until you address these tragic developments in our economy, which is why the CBN has recognized this, as some of us have complained over the years, and decided that to grow agriculture, we have to find a way around it by bringing down interest rates. We have to go further down, though, because the world average is 3%.
All right, Honorable Minister, thank you very much indeed. Rice production has improved tremendously within the last 1 year. And of course, credit to the Ministry of Agriculture for that. Now, the issue of importation of rice, smuggling of rice, has persisted. And one wonders what you intend to do in 2019 with respect to ensuring that there will be more stringent measures to ensure that smuggling is reduced, if not eliminated drastically.
About 7 months ago, I did announce at a youth seminar that we might shut the borders. And that was after speaking with Mr. President. And when I made that statement, there was a general reaction. It was quite positive in many ways. Then the President of the Republic of Benin came here and met with Mr. President, and I was at the meeting. And he promised that we'll sit down and look into the matter and put into practice a memorandum of understanding entered into between Nigeria and the Republic of Benin during the Obasanjo administration. Unfortunately, our neighbor hasn't really followed up on the agreements we reached. So he promised to do something about it. The Nigerian Customs Service also intensified efforts to block the smuggling. Most of the rice comes in, goes to Niger Republic, and then comes down into Katsina mainly, and Kano. And we found, and I must regrettably announce this, that the Beninois are enjoying the damage they're doing to the Nigerian economy through their borders. One of the reasons why we did not immediately implement that program is that we also know that there are many Nigerians who go between here and Togo and Ghana doing legitimate business. And some people said, if you shut the doors suddenly, you also create some pain for them. So we've been talking to the Republic of Benin. The customs people are intensifying their patrols. They kill a lot of our customs officers almost on a weekly basis. We intend that by the first week of February, we'll engage the Beninois once again and ask them to choose between friendly cooperation and an aggressive policy implementation on our part. We can't afford to watch our economy being destroyed. The World Bank said not long ago that $5 billion is lost annually to smuggling across that border alone. On the other hand, Dangote's trucks carrying cement to Togo are sometimes not even allowed to stop to fuel there, not even to drop a bag of cement. And the Republic of Benin imports cement from China, will not buy from us. So when we talk of ECOWAS and the policy of reciprocity, we need our neighbors to respond positively to our requests for cooperation. They don't often respond well, but before getting to the final point of shutting the borders, we're still trying to explore all possibilities to do so. But if we have to, we must. Having said that, local rice production is improving and increasing. The prices are slowly dropping. We have put in place a policy of supplementing credit to rice millers at 5% to buy paddy off the place. Rather than subsidizing rice production, we are subsidizing the credit to make it easier for them to produce rice and sell at prices either at par with imported rice or even lower. That program is falling in place, and with increased production of paddy, we think a day is near, probably within 2019, when local rice will become cheaper than foreign rice. It takes a while to achieve that because there are other factors. Transportation. The price of diesel has almost doubled in the last 6 months. So trailers moving rice increase the price of transportation. That impacts on the price of rice. We are moving rice from Kebbi to Lagos. A trailer will ask for 350,000 to 400,000, up from 250. These things impact. Then illegal checkpoints impact also on the movement of food items. So these are the factors happening, but we're getting close to our targets.
In 2018, Minister, we recorded, a high level of success in the rice production. Growing up in the north, I grew up eating local rice, the Dikwa rice, Jamila rice, and also. But apart from rice, how are you trying to expand this to other produce?
Well, the good news in other sectors is that today Nigeria is the second largest producer of sorghum in the world. We are the largest producer of rice in Africa. We are rivaled by Mali. We are the second largest producers of sesame seed after Ethiopia, but we'll overtake them. We are the second largest producers of gum arabic after Sudan. We are, of course, the leaders in yams and cassava. We are the biggest producers of hibiscus flower, zobo. We export to Mexico and to Russia. We are now about to launch in 2019 into cocoa, to revive cocoa. We were number 2 in the world. We went back to number 7. We have to climb to where we belong, at number 1. We're reintroducing coffee, which grows very well here, the Robusta, mainly in the southern states, and the Arabica on the plateau and in Mambila. So we're moving up. One of the areas of deficiency is milk. The Nigerian cow is the lowest producer of milk in the world, averagely 1 liter, 1.5 per cow per day.
Why is that?
Because we don't look after the cows well, which is what is leading to the conflicts between farmers and herdsmen. Our cows are poorly fed. When I first came in, I spoke of grass, and people had all kinds of reactions. Grass is not the same as weed. Grass for cattle is special. The average crude protein content of grass fit for cattle must be at least 15%, up to as high as 25%. And there are special grasses for that. And if you go to Napris, they'll tell you this. We import rice seeds, grass seeds from other countries. We will also use rice straw and maize straw and cassava leaves to feed cows. We're working on those now. So very soon, when we begin to isolate the cows in grazing reserves, feed them well and give them water, and stop the roaming, which is leading to the crisis, you see the milk yield of cows in this country rising to 15 liters per day. We need that to feed children. We need that even for adults. So these are the deficiencies we still have, we're pursuing. And because we have almost 20 million cows here, out of 60 million cows in West Africa, according to ECOWAS, we need to do more work to improve the breed of cattle, stop the roaming, make the cattle herdsmen more comfortable, and protect them using agro-rangers against rustlers. These are the plans we have in place.
Okay, I would like you to speak further on the issue of seeds, because seeds are the symbol of beginning in a scientific agriculture, with basic input and, of course, most important and a catalyst for other inputs to be cost-effective. Now, what are the plans for seeds and seedlings in Nigeria for us to be able to have improved seeds and seedlings that could fight some insects and and other animals that attack plants? Was there any plan to expand the aspect of
seeds and seedling production in Nigeria? We have a very robust seed council. They're out there on the way to after Gwagwaladas, you're heading towards Kogi there. We have an office there. We are actually the main seed suppliers to West Africa as of today, but we're not doing enough yet. We just brought in some machines from Europe for analyzing seed. Research in seed is going on. The seed companies have problems with credit because to take seeds from foundation seeds to certified seed for planting takes 2 years of research. The program is slow. So for hybrids of all kinds, the seed companies are working. We're trying now to secure some credit for them, credit that will endure for like 5, 6, 10 years to enable them buy more equipment to produce seeds, because without good seeds, every effort you're making in agriculture is a futility. So it is true. And yet we are the most successful seed country in West Africa as of today. Money is a problem. We've already decided we're going to apply for support from the federal government or from sources of credit like the World Bank or the African Development Bank. If that is put in place, we can then supply seeds. We need more and more research in seed. We're not doing enough. We're expanding our operations because many farmers are still using grains instead of seed. And there are many fake seed companies too who go to the market, buy seeds, polish them up with all the chemicals to make them look attractive, package them very well and sell to farmers. Some farmers buy these seeds, plant them and find that their yields are too low. So research is going on. However, I must also say a lot of successes are being achieved. The Institute of Agric Research in Zaria has just come up with a new variety of cotton. One of the reasons why the textile industry died is that the production of cotton dropped. Years back, we were rivals with India and Pakistan. Today, we're at a zero level, near zero level. The yield of cotton on the farms is sometimes below 1 ton per hectare. Pakistan does 5 tons. India does 3.5 to 4. We've got seeds now that can give us 3.5. So we're going to return to cotton production in our effort to revive the textiles, because the death of the textiles was a major disaster in our economy. It was one of the largest employers of labor. People like our chairman of APC, Adams Ushemole, will tell you, when he was with the textiles in Kaduna, suddenly everything crashed. We became an importer of everything. Importation has been a major disaster to Nigeria's existence. It has taken away the jobs, because when you bring in goods, you bring in unemployment. And along with unemployment, you bring in poverty. And then because we had oil and gas, we were servicing these things and feeling very successful. We now know that oil can no longer be relied upon, so we must go backwards and do what we must do to improve our economy and create the jobs we so desperately need. Now,
you're a full-scale farmer, and I hope you're still doing farming, apart from being a minister. There are some, constraints to farmers. You spoke about infrastructure, facilities, and road network is also a problem. With all these things on ground, if power, which the present administration is really working hard on, if power is not there, what happens to this produce when they're produced, especially like tomatoes, pepper, onions, and so on?
Well, the issue of power is a big, big challenge. And again, I'm glad that everybody recognizes how much effort we're putting into power. The minister and his team are working. Investments are yielding results. We still have a long way to go, but we must stabilize power. Yes. But in waiting, we are also now moving towards increasing irrigation in agriculture, using solar pumps. Okay. Technology has reached a stage where you can actually sit in your house and instruct your pump on the farm to deliver 1 hour of rain to your crops and stop. The only other challenge is, of course, pilfering. You put your solar panels and somebody may go there and pinch them at night. Otherwise, you can actually sit in your house and irrigate your farm using your cell phone. We are working on that now, which will also then help us in a crop, especially like wheat. We grow wheat only between November and February, and it's only in the far north through irrigation. At that time, unfortunately, the price of fuel always goes up. So farmers have to buy pumps and buy fuel, which is what makes Nigerian wheat more expensive than wheat brought in from Brazil or the US. With solar pumps, especially in Jigawa and Kebbi now, we are slowly going to replace pumps using diesel or petrol with that. That's a source of energy which has to be explored. The other constraints, like you say, are rural roads. My ministry is called the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. We don't have enough funds to cover 12,000 communities in the country with rural roads, networks and bridges and culverts, which is where I'm making an appeal again. Something has to be done to allow the local government system to work. It's currently not working, and we must not pretend that it is working. Funds meant for local governments are not getting to them. When I was chairman of PDP, was an issue that I raised very strongly with state governors. Governors must allow funds meant for local governments to get to local governments so they can take care of rural roads, bridges, markets, schools, local clinics. If they open up those roads, farmers can move things faster. And then if there's power, even solar power, which we're trying to apply now to places like Mile 2, Katsina, Jos, and so on, to provide cold rooms at 15 degrees temperatures to preserve onions, tomatoes, okra, and such perishables. Not freezing at freezing temperatures, but at temperatures good enough to keep vegetables without letting them degenerate. Solar energy.
All right. Many experts have actually argued that we may have a comparative advantage if we engage in a processing. For instance, some of these produce we're talking about, especially fruits, can be processed and invariably, export them, if need be. Because what you are looking at is a situation where Nigeria can feed itself and as well as export to other parts of the country, at least to make gains through agriculture. Is there such plan in the 2019 outlook, to engage more in processing of those perishables?
Value addition is a major issue we're going into this year and beyond. One of the challenges, again, is access to credit. For you to process food to acceptable standards for local and foreign consumption, you have to use special machinery. Food-grade stainless steel is very expensive, especially for processing vegetables and fruits. And even the machine you use in the market for grinding tomato and onions, what our local inventors have created is not very safe for health. As long as two pieces of metal are rubbing against each other, right, there's a wear and tear of tiny bits, almost invisible bits of metal getting into the food. Very bad for the internal organs, especially the liver and the kidney. So we're designing now, using Firo and some local manufacturers, to use stainless steel, but designed in such a way that the knives don't touch the body of the wall of the grinder. Introducing them into the market. They are not cheap. We have to build some and subsidize. Now, if you're talking of more costly processing, like tomato paste, it's all stainless steel. Fruit juice concentrates. All of that is not cheap. So we have a policy in the ministry now of procuring some of these machines and selling to younger people and women groups at a discount. Because if you don't do it, they can't on their own raise capital to go and do these things. So value addition is a major issue, which is why rice processing has been growing. We support the rice millers at interest rates that are favorable. Because the average rice mill of 100 tons a day will cost you $3 million. Right? So this is what we have to do. Look for the capital, support people, buy these things. We've done so with rice. We've sold almost 200 medium and small rice mills in the last 1 year. We're going to bring in another 200 because in the next, of small ones, in the next 10 years, we need 120 rice mills of large size to satisfy the Nigerian market as our population is galloping towards 450 million. So this is the challenge, and government has to get involved in it. But otherwise, we can't preserve what we produce.
Now, Honorable Minister, our time is up, but we would like you to do a closing remarks before we finally go.
The closing remark is that Nigerians should have faith in what government is doing, and they should be courageous enough to admit where successes are recorded. I know it is not fashionable to agree that anything is good, but I think we're heading somewhere. And we're happy with the youth and the women for their response in the invitation by this government and the president that we should all return to the farms. Finally, we believe that a country, a tree is as strong as its roots. Unless and until we stabilize the rural areas, growth and development in this country will always be a mirage.
Mr. Minister, we are not letting you go now. You'll be here while our other guests come in. But we'll take a break right now. When we come back, Good Morning Nigeria continues.
Can I see your particulars, sir?
Officer, my particulars no dey here.
In that case, you'll have to come with me to the police station.
Officer, which levels? Where I for find you something make you take arrange your weekend.
What? Offense number 1, driving without particulars. Offense number 2, trying to bribe an officer of the law.
I won't harass Nigerians or take bribe. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we have 2 more guests joining the Honorable Minister of Agriculture for us to have their own views with respect to the projections for agriculture in 2019. Now we have Dr. Akim Abolede Oyerinde. Dr. Akim is a lecturer at the Department of Crop Protection, Faculty of Agriculture, University of Abuja. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, sir.
And go ahead.
We have joining us via Skype from Yola is Professor Abba Gambo, the Dean Faculty of Agriculture, Yobe State University. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, sir.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay, gentlemen, you're welcome. And let me begin with you, Dr. Oyerinde. You listened to the minister expatiate on some of the programs and activities of the Ministry of Agriculture with respect to ensuring that the nation, succeeds in food sufficiency and even have more to export outside the country. So what's your assessment looking back at 2018 and what has happened in that sector?
Thank you for bringing me on board. And as somebody that has been a consultant, apart from being a lecturer, and being an actor within the facet of agriculture in Nigeria, congratulates the minister so far. Because in last year, that was at the 2nd to 3rd quarter, Nigeria was able to, Nigeria agriculture contributed massively into our GDP. The first time that we rise from 3.2, almost 3.2, to about 5.2 million contribution of agriculture into the GDP did not come by surprise. It means the man at the helms of leadership recognize where we are coming from. Agriculture has been the mainstay of Nigerian economy for quite long. We all know that in the history. But some time ago, we lost the track. And when the government of President Buhari came up, the reinvention of agriculture came up. There was a support for the provision of fertilizer for farmers. Because as a farmer, if you plant within this facet of agriculture now, and if you plant, the only thing that can enhance your productivity is for your soil to be healthy. And no soil will be healthy without having the nutrients that is required for growth. So most of the agricultural commodity got a boost in 2018. If you check through the Bureau of Statistics record, you'll find out there is a high increase in production, which led to substitution. We are talking about diversifying our economy, and the only shortest way to diversify our economy is agriculture. Because agriculture produces mainly most of the raw material for our industry, starting from pharmaceutical industry to most of the production industry. You find out that agriculture contributes immensely. And what has been happening before is that the company usually imports raw material, but with what you call import substitution now, that the government, the present government, embarked upon. Some of the raw material are being produced locally with the integrated farming system. That is the option now. Farming system being integrated in the sense that the waste of an option becomes the raw material for the next one. So I believe that we are still on track. What we need to do is not to lose focus. We should enhance at improving to the next level. Sometime I was in Israel and China, and I find out when the Honorable Minister was talking about developing the rural area, if the rural area is attractive, the youth and the women will not rush to come to the city. If you have good road, there was a place in that was in China, and went for agricultural mechanization in China. I was part of the people that Nigerian government sponsored in 2015. You find out that the local area, the road accessibility to the village is as good as what you have in the city. The building that you have in the village is as good as what we have in Maitama, what we have in Nasukuro here. So if we're able to improve the status of our villages to that level in Nigeria, our youth, there will not be youth migration into the city. What are you looking for in the city? The best option for you to get engaged, to get short way of getting to become a millionaire, is to involve in value addition in agriculture. And that, I did some work with NISA as well, which we are now talking about agricultural value chain development. In agric, when you talk about employment, in the value chain, starting from production up to when you get to the market, you have so many actors that are involved. So the more we improve the agricultural value chain, we are asking the minister about processing. Processing alone can take off most of our graduates. And I was thinking sometime along that if paraventure, there can be a collaboration between the Ministry of Agri and the NYSC scheme. The NYSC scheme, for 1 year, for most of the graduates, is a waste. In the sense that if we can do some small capacity building for them on processing, because what people believe in and what the wrong and the erroneous belief about agriculture in Nigeria is that people still think agric is the laborious one. In agric now, you have Internet of Things, you have precision agriculture, you have so many modern agriculture that you don't need to carry any. When I teach, I used to tell the students, cutlass and hoe is not agriculture. That is peasantry. That is rudimentary. When you talk about agriculture, you talk about the engagement of technology in agriculture. And if you're able to do that, you take care of your crop, you take care of your animal, you have food security in the country.
Well, now we'll be joining Professor Gambo in Yola, and I'm throwing you a question on, there has been so much, work and interest on the agri sector since the present administration came on board. How would you rate the intervention to farmers in the agri sector so far?
Thank you very much, and may I thank you for having me again. Good regards from Yola. Now, the agricultural sector, we've done so much talk, and up till now there is no real work, and that is the fact. Now, I'm happy Chief Audobe is there right in front of you. In 1980, the Green Revolution document that was produced by late Shehu Shagari, may Allah bless his soul, produced Chief Adobe was part and parcel of it, and that was just like a puzzle, the Green Revolution scheme. Then secondly, in the year 2000, I remember very well, Admiral Murtala Inyako, Dr. Shetima Mustafa, and Chief Audu Ogbe were consulted by the 19 northern governors to come with a blueprint for agricultural development in the northern part of the country. They did it excellently, and it's also like a puzzle. Then thirdly, Chief Audu Ogbe came with the, are you hearing me? The Green Alternative document. I am the agri-consultant to the Nigerian Governors Forum. When I came to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, somebody gave me a copy of the Green Alternative document. I went to some states, I was showing state commissioners. They said they are not even aware that such a document is now in existence. So what I'm saying is, the whole agricultural talk we are doing, I think there has to be a paradigm shift. It's time that we see all the things that we are talking practically. Yes, some increases have been done in agriculture, but when you go to the market, as we are talking now, when you go to the market, prices are on the high side, and people are hungry.
Okay, Madam Minister, he has raised a lot of issues. Can you please respond?
He talks about prices and hunger. I think two things are being mixed up here. Nobody in Nigeria will tell you he went to the market and couldn't find food to buy. So food availability is a different thing from food costs, or food scarcity. I hate to mention another country called Venezuela today, where you can't even find the food in the shop to buy, and where people are migrating to Colombia and to Brazil. We don't want that here. I have just given a reason why prices are high. The farmer doesn't control the transporter. The farmer doesn't control the cost of diesel or petrol. The farmer doesn't control the checkpoints on the highways. I've been writing letters to the IG, stop these extortionists on the highway calling themselves tax collectors and so on. So the cost of production in Nigeria of everything is higher than elsewhere for so many reasons. Power supply, interest rates. It's not that we don't want to walk the talk. We are trying. Production is increasing. Prices are high. There is not much liquidity in the economy because this economy has been too dependent on imports. And that's what is weakening the Naira. I mean, in 1986, when we began the structural adjustment, April 86, I was away in Hong Kong with a friend of mine when we called home and we were told that the auctioning of the dollar had just started. 3 Naira to $1. And I said to my friend, the former senator, I said, this is the beginning of Nigeria's journey to disaster. He said, why? I said, one day it will be 300 to 1. He said, no, you're exaggerating. Where are we now? We actually hit 527 before we panicked. Now, when the CBN then said 41 items cannot enjoy foreign exchange, Nigerians rose in anger. We like imports. We just love it. Go to your house, but there's virtually nothing in your house that's locally made. Toothpicks alone, $18 million a year. So as long as you're shipping out all your foreign exchange, weakening your currency, prices at home can only rise. So it's not true that no work is going on. It's true that prices may be high, but the factors that increase food prices are not controlled by the Ministry of Agriculture. We're trying our best to increase production, but the farmer also has to make some profit from his labor, and the labor is not cheap. We have the lowest level of tractorization probably anywhere in the ambitious world. Less than 20,000 tractors operational in this country now. So like he said, the hoe and cutlass are no longer instruments of modern production. So even the farmer has challenges. And it's not true that we're not doing enough work. The fact is that other challenges stand in our way. We hope to eliminate them as time goes on and bring down prices for families to be able to feed themselves easy.
All right, thank you, Honorable Minister. In the course of Professor Gambo's remarks, we lost contact with him in Yola via Skype, but we hope that in the course of the program, we may regain access to him with perhaps a clear audio. Now, for now, let's return to Abuja to talk to Dr. Oyerinde once more. Now, there is one issue or one point that the Honourable Minister hinted in his opening remarks, which has to do with the strengthening of Bank of Agriculture, with a target of capital base of 250 billion naira. And part of the plan is to ensure that farmers have access to loans with about maybe 2 or 5% interest rate. Now, how would you consider that projecting into 2019?
In fact, that is a very good step in the right direction. I said I work with, as a consultant to some of the government agencies as well as a private sector. The bane of our agriculture has been funded. And as the minister said that for you to get loan from a bank is over 20%. And you find out like the Anchor Borrowers program of CBN as well as the one of NISA is now aggregating farmer into cluster, into cooperative, and funds is being available at less than 10%. And when the minister was speaking, he said the best in the world now is around 3%. So we should be thinking, targeting something like that. I stay with the farmer. I stay in Sheda, in FCT, where you have the State Council. And I know the farmers are better for it now. Most farmers make more money. The issue of when Professor Gambo was talking about not walking the talk, I have a different concept about it. Now the youth are more interested in agriculture now. Youth are coming into youth and the women, they are coming into agriculture massively now. Because they now see that it's easier for you to make more money from getting into agriculture than engaging in other kind of business. So if that is what is happening now, and we have identified that fund is the problem, if Bank of Agric is being revitalized, and he said that we should be able to have Bank of Agriculture in each local government. You know, with that there will be access. I did the FEC capacity building in Ebonyi, Abia State, and a host of others. You will see the interest of Nigerians now. As regards when they were arguing that how will Kebbi be producing more rice than Ebonyi? That Ebonyi is now claiming that they are producing more than Kebbi. That is an healthy competition. So we should be thinking of providing a soft landing for anybody, whether youth, or the retirees, as well as the people that are, Agric, fortunately, is the only occupation you can do as a civil servant. Whatever you do, behind my house, I keep bees, I plant crop, behind my house in that community. And if you see the 2 bars of yam that I have this year, it's massive. So, there is what you call demand and supply. If you are claiming that the price of agricultural commodity is high, let's produce more. When we produce more, the price will go down. 1. 2, let's think of adding value to what we produce. The price is going up now. Before, Nigerian commodity don't have access to exports. As the Apiculture Mirror Chairman for Standard Organization of Nigeria, we find out that recently now, the Ministry of Agriculture was involved too, in the third country listing of Nigeria for export of apicultural product, which are the bee product. Fortunately, I'm one of the actors in that. So we are going in the right direction. What the Honorable Minister has said is that we should look for more collaboration, we should look for more fund, so that the farmers can have loan at a percent that is no more than 3. If we're able to get that, you have more people getting involved in agriculture, you have massive production, and when we have massive production, our so-called processing or in country, what you call industry, will grow. There's post-harvest. I remember in 2013 when Rockefeller Foundation came to Nigeria. I was part of the actors there too. When they claimed that we are losing over 78% of our production to post-harvest losses. So if we're able to have provision for storage, the silos, the cool room, and a host of others like that, it will preserve our agriculture. It will preserve our product. And when you can store your product for a while, you have more return on investment. So that should be the direction, that should be the focus. And Nigerian peasant farmer and a host of other agri actors, they are producing massively. Let's see how we add value to what they are producing.
Honorable Minister, I can see you're itching to react to what he's saying now.
Yes, I mean, he's got the points. What Professor Gambo said earlier is quite true. Ironically, though, people sometimes don't recognize that there are 37 governments in this country. 36 states, 1 federal, and in fact 38 if you add FCT. Now FCT is 15 times the size of Singapore. Singapore is 650 square kilometers. FCT is 12,500 square kilometers. Right? 8,500, sorry. So FCT is a country. Now, if every component of this large federation was responding as much as some, by today, we wouldn't be complaining of food shortages. I think today only about 10 state governments are seriously expending energy and time and money on agriculture. The others are coming along slowly, but not as fast as we would expect them. Each of the zones has its own ecological advantage. Some states, and one state, like Borno State, has close to 4,000 tractors, right? Some states don't have even 20. Now, the federal government doesn't compel states, we only advise them. Professor Gambo spoke of this document called the Green Alternative, which is a program we put in place when we came. We invited commissioners from every state to give them copies. Some may not have read the document. Now, it's only a guide. We don't force the states. This is a federation. They are autonomous. They were elected governors there and legislatures, so they know what they want to do. Now, however, if they don't invest for us to join them as partners and give them support, we can't force them. So there may appear to be in some areas a lack of participation. He mentioned the efforts we did before. Murtala Nyako, Shetima Mustafa, and myself, as consultants to people. I am active in agriculture, even now I am. But the good thing, like Professor here said, is that the response nationwide is growing. Agriculture is going to stand on its own soon. With or without support, there are people who are driving along. It's not easy for them to clear their land, do irrigation, find the funding. But we're heading there.
All right, Honorable Minister, you raised a very critical or crucial point while you were doing this explanation, the last explanation, and that has to do with the states. Yes. Now, agriculture is on the concurrent list, exactly. And that is why you made mention of the fact that you cannot force the states to key in. No. But if there is any, if there is any difficulty in ensuring that there is food security in Nigeria, the state must be part of it. The federal government will be blamed. And if the states are not falling in line with the federal government's policy on agriculture, your effort, would have been defeated. So what I'm trying to ask is this: is there no forum where states and federal governments meet to not necessarily articulate ideas, but to implement the policies of federal government on agriculture to ensure that it cascades down to the rural areas where the impact will be more felt than ever? So is there no such a forum for you to do that?
We have the National Council on Agriculture meeting quite often, and we do that every other year. And that's where we put our programs on the table and we go through them and share dreams and ambitions and so on. But once you finish with that, The commissioner who is attending the seminar will carry the report to his governor. Yes. And when we go around, we sit down with the governors and encourage them. But you must recognize something. Orientation differs from place to place. Some chief executives have something else that attracts their attention more than others. Some people prefer, for instance, road networks and structures, buildings, hospitals, schools, to agriculture. You may find a governor who thinks that agriculture really has never made anyone rich. I've heard one governor say that. So he's not really keen on that. Let the peasants carry on. They will always manage at their level. You may have another governor who says, no, my job is to drive the economy. And the fastest way of doing so is by moving the peasantry up from where they belong, up north, upwards. For instance, take a state like Kebbi. Today, there are thousands of millionaires in Kebbi. I've heard of people who have quit the civil service saying, hey, I'm making 20 million a year from rice and wheat. So what am I doing in the civil service waiting for 200,000 a month? And the last Hajj, 56,000 people went on the Hajj. Nearly 90% were farmers who paid their way and paid for their wives to follow them. So a governor recognizes that this is the fastest way of lifting his people up and decides to concentrate. Some other governor may have something else on his mind. So we do talk, we do advise. And slowly, though, many more are coming. Not all at the same speed. But as we move on, governors have come to Abuja, we've sat down in my house and in the office, and we're starting programs. I was with the Osun governor 2 weeks ago in the house. We're going into Osun, a major program on bananas and plantains. We're going into coffee and cocoa in Abia. Cross River is doing very well in those things. Akwa Ibom is in coconuts, because coconut oil is very expensive now. Even the coconut shell and the palm kernel shell will fetch more revenue than the coconut themselves. We produce activated carbon from them. Very expensive item in the world market. So we collaborate. But each state, Lagos is going to a huge rice mill, 40 tons per hour, right? In fact, 400 tons per hour. Big thing. So paddy will come from the north or from the surrounding states into Lagos, because Lagos is as big as a country, almost 22 million people. So we do work together. But what I'm saying is the response is not the same everywhere, but it is growing.
Okay, Honorable Minister, we'll be taking our tweets now. A lot of people are talking. We have so much tweets. We have Sani Michael Omakoji. He said, Honorable Minister, Happy New Year. My observation is this. We learned and heard on media that Nigeria has attained food security in 2018. But the prices of foodstuff are still high. For example, bag of rice was then 9,500 naira. But now it's 20,000 plus. How do you reconcile this?
All right, now from Mike Ayako, he says, agriculture plays very important roles in shaping Nigeria's economy to greater heights at the attainment of independence. Now, unfortunately, the subsector was neglected at the discovery of petroleum. The present administration and some state governments have been making huge efforts to revitalize agriculture. And more efforts should be taken, and I think he continued, that more efforts should be made to agriculture the year 2019. The sector has a potential of employing an army of unemployed, providing food security and raw materials for industries. Nigeria is blessed with arable lands. As we enter farming season, fertilizers should be given to farmers.
And Dele Jack Solomon is replying to Good Morning Nigeria. He said the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, has projected Nigeria to be the second largest rice exporter come 2019. The FG should expedite action to put all modalities in place towards the realization of this prediction for the betterment of economy and the lives of Nigerians. He went further to say the Central Bank of Nigeria should intensify effort to support the cause of agricultural development in 2019 by restricting forex for rice importation and introduce the Anchor Borrowers Program, the Commercial Agriculture Credit Scheme, CAC, to fast-track the development. The agricultural sector will enhance national food security, but also need to reduce the cost of credit in agriculture and raise the level of foreign exchange earnings in the country.
Now, from Festus Kimbewa, as more Nigerians are getting involved in agriculture, there will continue to be progress in the agricultural sector in 2019. However, the increase in conflict in Northeast and Middle Belt could hinder the progress of the sector if not something is not done quickly to diffuse the problems there. With climate change and the rate of which our population is growing, government at all levels must do their best to keep our farmers in the farm in 2019.
And Ashiru Muhammad says it's so disappointing looking at the lukewarm attitude of most state governments in promoting promoting agri-development, as they continue to pay lip service to this sector that has the capacity to turn around the fortunes of our economy. Every level of government must be committed in both word and action.
All right, now from Habia Kwarakashi, he says that there has been great improvement in agricultural sector, and I believe the year 2019 will not be different. But the greatest setback is in the sector is the activities of the herdsmen. I worked with a farmer, or if I worked in a farm that there's 25 hectares of rice. It was completely destroyed by herdsmen in Taraba.
And Sekiru says, I appreciate this present administration on agriculture. This year, more effort should be on livestock, but I have never eaten Nigerian rice in Lagos because it is not available.
All right, Motana Farouk says Nigeria is adequately blessed with arable and fertile land for farming, although this has not been harnessed in full by the previous administrations, excluding the present administration. I really laud the efforts of President Muhammadu Buhari in this aspect. He has done well.
And Habila Kwara Zakshi says, agriculture is the biggest sector in the country. I never knew this until I got myself involved into rice business. As a serving corps member, I'm not even thinking of sitting in office anymore. All I want is government support and assistance. The sector carries a lot of youths.
All right, now from Motana Farouk, diversifying the economy beyond oil is pertinent and germane for the growth and development of Nigeria's economy. I urge this administration to reinvigorate its strategies and policies on agriculture through prioritizing of colleges of agriculture, mechanized farming, and incentives.
And Abraham Chijele says, if the government of the day keeps diversifying our economy and the officials in charge are held accountable, this country will be great.
And Comrade Elaji Ngala, I am appealing to President Muhammadu Buhari to reappoint Chief Audu Owe as Minister of Agriculture for a second term. Kudos to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, I wouldn't know whether you'd like to respond to any of the tweets we got from Nigerians who are watching this program.
Well, let me thank Nigerians. Professor Gambo, unfortunately, we've lost him. It is true, the comments they're making are all very relevant. Somebody spoke about the cost of rice. While he probably bought a bag for 20,000 somewhere, in some other parts it costs 14. Even 12. Okay? So again, wherever he called from, if it was, say, in Port Harcourt, rice is very expensive in Port Harcourt. Very, very. We're trying now to revive a rice mill that was built by the Niger Delta Ministry. And built and abandoned for 5 years or 6 years now. Big mill. Recently, we got a militant. He came to see us in the office from Bayelsa. Sat down with him, what are you doing now? Very educated young man. He said, well, you know, things are rough. So I said, if we give you a rice mill, what will you do with it? He said, oh, he took it home. Believe me, last year he brought us a packaged bag of rice. He has 200 youths working for him now in the Peremabri area. A project we began in 1981 and never took off. So the idea really is to move production closer to everybody, because transportation is a major problem. We don't have a railway system yet. So the trailer driver will tell you his ordeal. From Kebbi to Bayelsa, by the time he arrives there, he would have spent about a week and a half. Stoppages, tire losses, all kinds of things. And he builds his cost onto this. Distributors will tell you their problems. So we are really sorry that prices are still stiff. But that's also the nature of everything we do locally. Now, those who have spoken generally have been quite supportive. We appreciate their concerns. We want to assure them that we will continue to work. A country cannot say it is strong and independent if its people are hungry. If a family spends more than 20% of its earnings to feed the family, that's not good enough. So we'll keep driving the program, reducing interest rates, getting the CBN to increase support, and that's what the president said. He told me and the CBN governor, go and find solutions. And he drives us every other day, wherever he goes, that's the issue. Don't let me down. God has been kind. In spite of the floods this year, the yield of maize and grains is high. So we'll continue with it, bringing in younger people, because we older ones, I mean, we have only so much time left to do hard work on the farm. As long as young people are coming in, this country's dreams will be fulfilled, I assure you.
There's another aspect that I'd like you to shed light on, and that's the issue of colleges of agriculture and universities of agriculture in this country. How are you engaging these institutions?
You know, the universities of agric migrated into the Ministry of Education for a long time. I've just brought them back, right? And now we're saying to them, the syllabi of the universities have been amended, and we're not going to allow any University of Agriculture teach secretarial studies and management this and B.Ed in this and that. Go into agric. Makurdi sits on 10,000 hectares of land. So does Abeokuta. So does Umudike. Umudike has 6,000 hectares. There's no reason why the undergraduate should not own a farm. There's no reason why the undergraduate, by the time he or she gets the first degree, shouldn't be a full-fledged educated farmer. That's where we're heading. Our budgets to them have increased. They are responding well. And we have to redesign their program so that we have a crop of highly educated farmers who can do on 1 hectare what their grandparents couldn't do on 10 hectares. And they can take advantage of technology and so on. This is where we're heading. It's coming along. The response is good. We haven't funded them enough, but we're moving along to do that.
All right.
Dr. Hakim, you spoke about technology in agriculture. So what potential does the greenhouse technology hold for the country, and how can it be explored?
Okay, thank you. The Honorable Minister spoke well about the colleges of agriculture as well as the University of Agriculture. But I will start from this side that most of the Faculty of Agriculture in Nigeria, we have nearly all the universities having Faculty of Agriculture. And the best way to develop agric in Nigeria is for us to entice the youth into it. I remember when people like us started reading agriculture, people mock us. They look down on us, but now they are envying us because they now see that there is life, there is more to what you call agriculture. So that was why I was saying that agric is not use of hoe and cutlass. A greenhouse alone can give you what 10, 50 hectares will give you in 1 year, in a month. There are so many kind of, we have hydroponic, we have androponic, we have so many systems that can give you so much. When the minister was talking about the issue of greens for the animal, there is terrace farming now. Farming that you can do on shelf, where you can grow your grasses and you'll be harvesting it. Another one will come up, you harvest it. So we should be thinking of an agriculture where you can use a small space to produce more. And that is the concept of the greenhouse that you are talking about. You have the greenhouse where you can take care of your crop intensively. You provide nutrients, you provide water intensively. And as the Honorable Minister said, you can automate it. Wherever you are, you can be here and you give water, it gives it. Give nutrient, it gives it. Stop giving water. And you will find out the drips irrigation system that was developed in Israel. When I met the man that developed that, he said, there's no water in Israel. Not like Nigeria where you have so much runoff. There's no water in Israel. That's why we think of giving a drip, like when somebody is sick and you give a drip to the person, so as to supply both the nutrients and the water to the plant, the appropriate one, so that there will be no waste. So in a greenhouse system, I know somebody, a farm, I will not mention the name so that it will not be an advert, along Kuje Road, that produce cucumber, cabbage, for most of the stores that we have in the city here. And they make millions of naira from just producing that. The new agriculture now is that you should involve technology. The use of drone, the use of robots in your production. I know Nigeria is emerging, and other 5 of the federal governments talks about science and technology innovation for agri-system. So I believe that that order is timely. It was released, and that will protect the scientists on patenting whatsoever they produce, and with that we maximize what we are producing. That's one. There is another order 3 that talks about the like NTA, the parastatals, the agency, that you should consume what you produce. We lost it out. We gave employment to outsider when we are importing everything. But now, that order said there should be partnership between the government agency and parastatal with the local producers. So if we're able to do that, if I know that when I produce, there's a market, I will be overwhelmed to produce more. And that's why the Anchor Borrowers Program, if you go into it, you find out that there is always an off-taker before the farmer produces. So when you have something like that and you are sure of your market, you produce more.
The off-taker is the anchor.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much indeed. When you mentioned the drip irrigation, I also recall that I saw that in Quebec, in Israel, you know, where it was originated. And it's amazing what they've been able to achieve with the drip irrigation. Whether that happens here, that means we're advancing technologically. And honestly, from all indications, there's nothing we can do in agriculture without appropriate technology. Now, let me ask this question, Honorable Minister, because that has gradually becoming a perennial challenge, you know, in the agricultural sector, and that's herders and farmers' clashes. How does it affect food security in Nigeria, and what are the plans to stem the tide of the violence, you know, in the areas concerned, North Central and other parts of the country?
It does affect agriculture very badly. Just yesterday on the news, the Benue State Governor said his rice farm of almost 120 hectares was set on fire. Mature rice farm. It was very depressing. They said it was done by headsmen. And sometimes the wildfires are done because they want new grass to grow. Sometimes maybe they did this because the governor has passed the law. I do not know. Generally, that's a crisis that we must contain very quickly. Like I said, ECOWAS said that there are 60 million cows in West Africa. Half of the cows in West Africa are between Nigeria and Niger. We have about 20 million, Niger 10 million. But in the dry season, herdsmen come in from as far away as Mali, Mauritania, when there's no grass, marching down here. One night I was in Katsina when the governor of Katsina said he was sitting in his house when he heard that 3,000 cows had just crossed the border into Katsina. He had to get policemen and the army and everybody to go there and stop them. But he could only stop them, well, he stopped them, they couldn't turn around and go, because the ECOWAS protocol talks about the free movement of men and goods and livestock. With the only condition being that at the border you check their health certificates, their state of origin or their country of origin, and allow them to move. Now, these are problems that we have inherited from the protocol between us. Now, at home, this business of herdsmen and farmers has to be eliminated. And the only way is to revive the old grazing reserves. They disappeared because we're not paying attention. Many people in Nigeria do not recognize that the herdsman is a farmer. Unfortunately, his method of farming is now deleterious to other farming systems. The fact that he moves around and walks into farms and eats up crops. The fact also that they come from Niger and Chad, not recognizing that between farmers and herdsmen in the past, there was harmony. So what we are trying to do is to revive this, and we're beginning this January. The president has just approved a fund, reviving the old grazing reserves. Some have been encroached upon, Many are still there. The grazing reserves cover almost 5 million hectares in the states where they exist. And we had them before, even in the southwest, in Akunu, in Ondo, and in Ishe, in Oyo State. So today, people don't realize that these things were there in the First Republic. But we've grown away from them. We've ignored them. So the herdsman marches around looking for grass. The cow is a large animal. It eats at least 10 kilograms of grass per day and drinks at least 30 kilograms of water, or should drink a day, minimum, to give you milk and good beef. But it's marching on. As they come further down by trekking, the pregnant ones abort. The meat gets tougher. Half of them, a large number of them, have TB and other diseases, which can be transferred to humans. So we need to put these cows in a location, have vet services rendered them, gather their dung to generate electricity, which I'm doing on my farm in Kuje here, and have schools for their children, and stop them roaming. But the headsmen will also tell you, when I met with them in large groups in the palace of the Lamido of Adamawa, why are you carrying guns now? They said to me that rustlers attacked them in the night, killed their wives and children, so they too have bought AK-47s to fight back. I said, but they are now using it against farmers. They said, if you give us grass and water, we will not move. It's not going to happen overnight. We're beginning now, new earth dams, new boreholes here and there, to make sure that this crisis is eliminated, and many states have responded. However, when I came, I wrote to governors in 2016, would you like to give us land in your state where we can do this? Only 16 governors responded in the affirmative. The rest said they were not interested. I said, okay, we will not force anyone. We're not taking anyone's land. Those who have agreed will join hands with them in building these reserves and keep the cattle in one place. Those who want to buy can then take trucks and take them away.
Are the herders buying into this aspect of ranching?
I told you, in the house, the palace of the Lamido, he called 300 herdsmen. They had an interpreter. And I asked them, why must you roam? They said, because we have nowhere to find grass and water. So if we give you grass and water, will you stop? He said, any day of the week. Once we have grass and water, we'll settle and pay tax. That's the strangest one in what they said, is that they are willing to pay tax and pay for these facilities if we can provide them, and they too will stop roaming, because the roaming is causing them a lot of distress.
Okay, Honorable Minister, we're running out of time. Very briefly, can you talk about marketing and exploitation of farmers by foreigners? Very briefly.
By foreigners, our goods go into the world market at prices which are not always favorable. Yes. Take cocoa and coffee. The world business in coffee is $100 billion per annum. You know how much gets to the farmers? 5 billion. 5% gets to the farmer. The rest is in the hand of the processor in Switzerland, or the marketer, or the promoter, or the stockbroker, and so on. So farmers lose a lot. So we must add value here. However, if you attempt to add value here, some of them will tell you they won't accept what you're producing. So exploitation is there, which is one of the reasons why we were forced to devalue our currency, which was a mistake. But as we grow, there's an internal market. We don't have to export. I mean, if we have 450 million in 20, 30 years, produce for yourselves, produce for West Africa.
And eat what we produce.
Eat what you produce. And then they will now realize that they too, their businesses are in trouble. This is why we have resistance against rice. People who produce rice and sell to us are not happy that they are losing this market. This market is a sweet one.
All right, thank you, Honorable Minister. Now, more Nigerians are reacting to this conversation, and they would like to take their tweets. Ibrahim Tudu says, this government has performed extremely well in the agricultural development. On cooperative banks and access to loans, you see one of the problems farmers are contending with.
And Ibrahim Tudu still says, please, Honorable Minister, a program called Fadama is a perfect arrangement to help young youth graduates and unemployed to embrace agric. Quick take-up of the program will turn around agric for good. Give them support.
All right, Ibrahim Mojo Aji, mechanization of agriculture is key in attracting young graduates into farming business. Government should help in providing mechanization tools, especially to empower agricultural extension workers, which will ultimately increase Nigeria's production output.
Untitled Farms Limited says, what are the brands of local rice in the Nigerian market? I know of only Lake Rice. Educating Nigerians on this would help the campaign to consume local rice.
Oche Onche says the minister has spoken well. Can he say anything on government subsidies when there is glut, say on cassava, fresh fruits, etc.? Onche, unfortunately, we won't have time to allow the minister to comment on this. And on this note, gentlemen, we would like to appreciate you for being here this morning for the program. Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Chief Alduwe, it's been great talking to you this morning on this very, very important aspect of national development. Thank you, sir, for being here this morning.
And also thank Dr. Hakim Abolade Oyarinde, Lecturer, Department of Crop Protection, Faculty of Agriculture, University of Maiduguri. Very interesting conversation and very interesting input from you, sir.
Thank you. All right. We'd like to also appreciate Professor Abba Gambo, who reached us from Yola, but couldn't continue because of difficulties we experienced along the line of communication between here and Yola. He's the Dean, Faculty of Agriculture, Yobe State University. Thank you for the much you were able to contribute to the program. Right now, let's take you on sports development very shortly.